The cinnamon pull-apart bread is a different and delicious take on the classic cinnamon roll. For the dough, start by combining 3 cups of all-purpose or plain flour with a half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 cup of granulated or white sugar, and 2½ teaspoons of active dry yeast. Then after that's all mixed together, set it aside and beat 2 eggs in a large bowl. Pro tip, if you poke the yolks and break them with your whisk before you start, it will be much easier and faster to beat them. Pour in 2/3 of a cup of warm milk, not hot, just about body temperature, melted unsalted butter, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Once combined, pour the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients gradually, then combine into a rough dough. Pour the dough out onto a clean counter and knead it for 5 to 10 minutes until it becomes smooth. I always love how it feels like there's no way the dough will come together when you first start to mix it, but after a few minutes of kneading, it magically all works out. Okay, so now that it's smooth, transfer the dough to a bowl, then cover and let rise for about 1½ hours until doubled in size. In the meantime, prepare the cinnamon filling by combining softened unsalted butter with raw or brown sugar and a heaping tablespoon of ground cinnamon. You definitely want the butter to be soft here, otherwise it will be a total mess trying to mix it. If all else fails, just microwave at 50% power in 10-second bursts until soft. Once the dough has risen, punch it down, which I find to be the most satisfying part of the process, then transfer to a lightly floured working area. Now we want to roll the dough into a rectangle, and that's a lot easier said than done, because naturally the dough wants to be rolled into an oval. That's just what's going to happen unless you coax it into another shape. To do this, tap the rolling pin along the edges to straighten them out periodically. Then once the dough is wide enough, only roll out the corners to form it into a rough rectangle that is about 20 by 14 inches in size. Spread the cinnamon filling over the dough almost all the way to the edges, then cut into 6 long strips. You can now optionally sprinkle mini chocolate chips over the 4 middle strips if you, like me, are a fan of cinnamon and chocolate. Starting from the outside, stack 3 strips on top of each other so the plain cinnamon strip remains on top. Do the same on the other side, then cut the stacks into 4 squares, and a couple triangles. Now carefully place the squares upright into a lined 9 by 5 inch loaf pan, then gently separate the layers slightly with your fingers. This now needs to rise again in a warm place for about 30 minutes. After it's risen, the loaf should fill up the pan better, and it's at this point that you can brush the top with beaten egg to give it a nice gloss out of the oven. Then you can sprinkle on more raw sugar, which will caramelize in the oven and give the crust a little crunch. And now it's finally time to bake this in a preheated 350-degree oven for 30 to 35 minutes. When it's finished, it will need to cool, and in the meantime, you can make a cream cheese frosting to drizzle on top. First, whip half a cup of softened cream cheese. I emphasize softened because this will be quite tricky to do with cold, hard cream cheese. Once whipped, add powdered sugar, also called icing or confectioner sugar, heavy cream or milk, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Whisk again until smooth, and if you like it a little thinner, just add a bit more cream or milk. Then transfer to a piping bag and pipe on top of the bread, or use a spoon to drizzle it on. This was one of my favorite recipes that we've made so far. Try it at home and let us know how it goes. And while you're here, click on one of these other great videos and subscribe for more amazing recipes.